back to Bengal Voyage with Bappaditya Biswas. So handlooms in India is, I think, the second largest sector after agriculture, and obviously employs a lot of people. And what do you envisage in the sector is the role that a government or weaver service centers kind of people play to develop this sector? Is it infrastructure? Is it subsidies? Is it NGOs? What really should the government's role be? Because when I hear your story, I feel a lot of what you are doing is what a government should actually be doing in terms of providing, the infrastructure to so many looms and stuff like that. So how do you define the role between a government body and a designer, intervention kind of a body, so that this grows for the future? Now, with this vocal for local and Atmanirbhar Bharat and all that, there is so much of focus that's likely to come back on handlooms. How can you take this forward? What is a good model according to you?
I think government always had a focus on handlooms in India, at least the Indian government for, generation. There has been a lot of lovely policies, but always the problem has been the policies have never been implemented well in the grassroots. So the main problem, I think, there's no dearth of good policies of the government. They're all lovely policies. There's enough money government pumps into the policies. But what I've seen is firsthand, what I've seen, at least in the village that I work, is ultimately when it trickles down, government machineries work till a certain level. Then it comes down to the semi-government bodies like the cooperative societies and all of that, which actually get the grant, and they are supposed to distribute it among the grassroots. So that's how the whole hierarchy works, and there lies the problem. So you can't really blame the government all the time, because the government has its policies implemented in proper place, but the machinery of the government which actually hands it down, and also to the people, who are the people that the policies are being handed down to, there is the problem. So I don't know how that will get solved, because it's a big long history of red tapeism and all of that, which still exists and which will exist, I think, in all democratic governments, because it's impossible to standardize a human mind and to think everybody is going to feel or say the same thing and do the same thing in a similar manner. We are not as, I think, disciplined as that discipline that it requires. So that will always be there. So what I feel the government should do is find out a way for better implementation and identifying the actual need. Lot of policies I see in places, the government is giving free grants, free money, for building up a loom or for building up an infrastructure, and huge money, like crores of money, are being funded to build a building in a village, to where the government feels they will start an e-commerce platform over there, so the weavers can come, and it's a beautiful concept, wonderful concept. But what is happening once the building is you're giving it to a contractor who is kind of, doing things over there. Not everything is being implemented, number one. Once the building gets constructed, now who is supposed to move in over there? That clarity is not there. So these things are being done, money is being spent, money is being pumped into it, but ultimately nothing is coming out beneficial from that, because the ultimate focus, it has not been identified properly. I think that needs to be done by the government. I don't know how they're going to do it. It's a humongous task. But that needs to be done, where the final person, where that 1 rupee is coming down in his hand, that hand needs to be identified, whether the hand needs that 1 rupee, and whether the hand needs it for building up a loom, or is it to buy yarn, or is it to build some other infrastructure. So that identification of the person who needs it, B, identification of the purpose, where the funds should actually go and get distributed, and why should it get distributed. I think that these should be number one focus. Only then I think the actual impact of the spending that happens, we'll get to feel it, number one. Number two, I think a lot of times, uh, I think because the government is spending a certain amount of time, I've felt it at certain times that the government have told that, okay, I'm going to give you 2 crores. For this you need to build up a certain design development program at the grassroots level. So you need to do certain things, and then you need to hire a designer who will come and work. Now, the person who is actually sitting on top and taking the decision, now he suddenly feels that, okay, there's no point in calling the Indians, because the Indian designers are not that great. Let us get a foreign designer, because the moment it is a foreign designer, we feel that they're much more, elevated. I'm just giving an example. And so she comes or he comes. Now that person has no knowledge about the craft, no knowledge about, and one thing I have understood working for so many years with handloom and handicraft is that, design sensibility, or changing a particular thing, or changing, especially in terms of craft and handlooms, is not just about drawing or changing the pattern on a paper. It is also changing the mindset. It is changing the lifestyle. It is, you have to get into that lifestyle to understand why they do certain things and why they don't do certain things, why they're good at certain things, why they're not good at certain things. And only if you understand that, and that takes time. So suddenly, if you are hiring a designer who has no background, nothing under that, she might be a good designer on paper, but ultimately to bring an impact, why have we been able to bring an impact in handlooms? Byloom has definitely brought an impact. So why is that impact visible? Because we gave craft that time. We gave our prime time of our lives to craft, to spend that time, to sit with them, to understand, and then bring in the change. The change came from the bottom, didn't come from the top. So the change was intrinsic. Why has Byloom become a generic term, and why are people copying Byloom and saying that this is a Byloom sari, is not thinking that it's a brand? Because the change has happened intrinsically. It is the intrinsic change. So it is part of the textile so much that you can't separate it. I think that is important. Whoever is coming to work with, I keep saying this all the time. Sometimes I'm invited in NIF to go and talk to the students over there, and I say, I was also of the same background, but what I understood is you need to give time to craft. You cannot think that I'm going to go with a drawing in my hand, give it to the craftsman, is going to just change it because I've said it. No, he will not, because there's a lot of things he knows which you don't. So he's never going to accept your drawing. So you will never get out from him what you really want to, because you have not given the time. So that, I think there's a lot of things with people's attitude needs to change. People's attitude towards how they look at craft needs to change. And the government role, I honestly feel, is the government role should be building up infrastructure rather than actually handing out free money. Over the years they've done it. It has had no impact. 74 years the government has pumped in. Can you imagine how many crores of money? It's unimaginable, the amount of money. But still today, why are we talking about of saving handloom? Why hasn't handloom been able to stand on its own feet and has competed like another industry in itself? Handloom should be another industry, right? If it's the second largest employment generator, it should be an industry in itself. Who are we to save that huge industry?
Correct.
I'm just a drop in the ocean. So why are we today still talking about handloom, saving the handloom? Because we have not been able to get that impact or implement it properly. It's not that government has not spent, government has not thought about it. Government has tried enough, but the government can't do anything if people, we the people, we do not implement it properly. So I think there is the main fallacy. And so I think more rather than giving out money, government should build up infrastructures. For instance, I honestly feel the biggest access what they should have is a yarn bank.
Hmm.
Today, the biggest possible the thing that they face is that they don't have access to yarns at a reasonable rate. Like say for how instance the government has regulated the prices for essential goods, right? Like there's a rice, potatoes, onions, there's a regulated price for that. Now in yarns, it is today you're buying it for 2,000 rupees, tomorrow you might have to buy it for 4,500 rupees. So it's impossible for an individual weaver entrepreneur to invest that kind of money. Or
Correct.
today he has got an order for say 500 scarves from a silk which he had made a sample 6 months back, which he had paid for 2,000 rupees. Now after 6 months when the order has come to him, he goes to the market and he sees that the price have gone up to 4,500 rupees. So now his entire
Costing goes.
uh, has gone
Yeah.
haywire. So
Correct.
there is no regulated yarn market. So I think government should focus on these things which are going to, say for instance, accessibility to good roads, electricity, so that a weaver life becomes more, easy. Accessibility to, say, online data, so that, to internet, so that they can do their own marketing. Every business person knows how to maneuver and do the best for himself. The government doesn't need to monitor that. What the government needs to monitor is that the facilities that they don't have access to is reached out to them. I think there should, I honestly feel as a human being and as a person who has been as a practitioner of handlooms and handicrafts for so many years, is that if you really talk to them, if you really find out what is their need is they don't have access to these things. They don't have access to proper dyeing chemicals. They don't have access to proper yarns. They don't have proper access to courier facility. Today, the government is talking about, come online directly, you can buy from the village. Now, I have had a friend and a customer from Gurgaon. She actually went to the site and went and bought some saris from a random weaver who was selling on that government platform. Now, the sari after 3 months has not come to her. Now,
Hmm.
she is doubting the fact that, it was something, but it might not be the case that poor weaver might not have got access to a proper courier. And
Hmm.
also within the lockdown, maybe no courier, the cities might have opened up. In the villages, the courier doesn't reach.
Correct.
I'm having problem just getting my saris from the village to my uh, office in Calcutta.
Hmm.
So how is he going to courier? So, these are the problems. These are the problems that they face on a practical world. There's no after the Amphan, the Amphan which happened in Bengal. There was no electricity in the village for almost like 20 days.
Hmm.
Now there's no electricity for 20 days. How will they work?
Yeah.
How are they going to iron the saris? These are small things, but all of these, add together to form a bigger problem as to why aren't they being able to succeed in their business. So I think these small things should be looked at, that how can government provide a better infrastructure? Because that is impossible for us to do. We can't build up roads.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked with them. I can give them design idea, but I can build up roads so that it is easily accessible for people. So
Hmm.
more people go there and the market becomes more thriving. They still have to, depend on people. The agents in Calcutta, they will send their goods to the agents in Calcutta, and from here it goes. So
Hmm.
why aren't these things being taken care of? So it really pains me when I look at all these. And I know people will hate me for saying this. All my life, I have one thing when I started working with the handloom and handicraft, one thing I told myself I'm never going to do is work with an NGO. I think what they have done more than good, they have harmed, because the moment it's an NGO, like there has been many exhibitions where I go, and obviously there are a lot of self-help groups and NGOs who put up their stalls in textiles, and we are an NGO.
Hmm.
What does that mean? Because of you are an NGO, your quality doesn't matter to you. Dyes don't, matter to you. You are ultimately creating a product where you have someone is investing their time and money and hard work. So better the product be good in itself. So that is an attitude which the NGOs have kind of imparted. Oh, we are an NGO. We are helping the community in such a way. We don't have time to think about quality issues. We don't have time to think about business model. We don't have time. And business, the moment they hear business, NGOs, they hear business and they hear about people like us. They hate us because they think. We are the worst people on earth because we run a business. But I proudly feel today that because I have set up a fair business practice, because I have shown the weavers that what fair business practice can do to you, is today that all my 1,200 weavers today are standing up on their feet and they're running their own business and they're proud, and their next generation is proud to come back to this work. So I think that is where we are lacking. We are not addressing the issues which are actually the problem. We are just trying to pump money from the top. We are trying to, just talk about marketing. We are just trying to talk about e-platforms. But we are not talking about the intrinsic problem which they are still facing.
Yeah.
Because weaving is, you cannot separate a weaver. Actually, it's not an industrial product. It is an emotional, it is a human product. Someone is creating, I feel this is the difference where the maximum time the corporates go wrong when they come into handlooms and handicraft is that they always try to create their corporate structure and fit it into places, and everybody has to fit into that. But when you're working with a craft or a handcraft or a handwoven craft, there is a human emotional element into it. You cannot ignore that. Today, my weaver, if his mother is not well and there is no access to medical facilities in the village, his loom is going to get stopped for the next 15 days. He's going to come to Calcutta, he's going to get treated. It may be a month or two, and then he might be able to resume back to his work. Now, a corporate structure doesn't understand that.
Correct.
Because to them, it's not Maruti cars that you are pushing a button and things are getting made. So one has to understand this whole element. So even if I'm making excellent e-platforms, or even if I'm creating all these business hubs for weavers to come and sell their goods over there, but I'm not actually looking into what is happening in their homes. Do they have access? Even in the villages today in Sundarban area where I work, even in the monsoon, they can't come out for almost 2 to 3 weeks because everything gets flooded. Crocodiles swim over and come over to the village. Tigers come and walk into the village and they can't come out of their houses till the forest department guys. So there are so many things dependent on this. So how can I just create a e-platform and expect, the change, made the change, and now it's going to be excellent. This is why we have today, after 74 years, we still have to talk about how can we save handlooms.
Correct.
Because we have never provided the infrastructure that they actually need. I can go on about this, but I think this kind of sums up and explains to you. And people are going to hate me but I always talk from my heart because I believe that the actual reason needs to be focused on. It's high time now.
Yes. High time. I completely agree with you. I mean, every time there is the patriotism and the jingoism happen around a National Handloom Day, or save the handloom, save the hands that make handlooms happen. I always sit and wonder, we've had 74 years of this, and why are we still talking about saving something which is so intrinsic, So
it's shameful. It's almost shameful.
Absolutely.
After 74 years, if today still we have to say to save the handlooms, where the handlooms, we need to educate our own people to save handlooms. It's shameful. I really honestly feel, Kamala, over here, I would like to say we always put the onus on the customers. We always say, you know, why don't you wear handlooms? But why should you wear handlooms if you don't like it?
Yes.
So it is also the responsibility of the creators to create something
That he
which
likes,
you as a customer like, irrespective whether it's handloom or not. When you today buy, okay, it's a different thing. It is made by hand, and then it is an extra feel-good factor that it is all handmade and all that. But you also love the design. That's why you buy it, right?
Correct.
So, you know, that should also be taken care of. That is why I get upset with the NGOs, that you're trying to create something crap and you're expecting people, they still have to buy handlooms. And if they don't buy it, then you tell the government that, you know, people don't buy handlooms. So how can we survive? You're not making a good enough product. So why the customer needs value for the money? End of the day, you can buy one sari out of sympathy, but you cannot buy 10 saris out of sympathy. You won't buy it.
Yeah.
Even you need, it's your hard, earned money. Why would you spend it on something which has no kind of use for you?
Correct. Very true.
So all these things really needs to be really thought. You know, it's so easily we say save handlooms, but then what are we doing?
Very true. What about
It's a very strong, you have harped on a very strong topic. Sorry.
I'm happy that it has brought this much of passion, because that's exactly what I wanted to hear. In terms of fashion schools and design schools and what they teach, from your practical experience having passed out, and like you said, you keep going back to schools to teach them. What do you think that needs to change at a grassroots education level for promotion of handlooms?
I think what needs to change is the attitude that in design schools, especially the moment you get enrolled and you are being trained as a designer, it's almost you put yourself into a privileged pedestal where you think you are better than the others, you know things were better than the others, you understand design, you understand markets, because that's the whole package that you are being trained at, because a designer needs to have a certain attitude, otherwise you won't be taken seriously. And honestly, the fashion weeks has added to it, because everybody aspires to just be seen there, whereas the entire aspiration is on how you're promoting yourself, the image that you're building about yourself, but you're not focusing on actually the product. You're not actually focusing on the people that are helping you to create the product. So that, I think, needs to be taught in the schools and the colleges, as how to interact with the craftsman. Because ultimately, if the craftsman, the karigars are the person who are actually creating your product, you're not, no designers sit and do everything themselves.
Yeah.
We work on paper, but the actual thing is being done by someone else, whether be it's embroidery or weaves or prints or whatever. So we need to know, we need to learn how to work with the craftsman, number one. Number two, as I said earlier, that we need to give that time to understand that how a certain thing is done, because these are age-old traditions, and it is age-old traditions has a lot of knowledge in it. I'm not as knowledgeable as the age-old tradition, which is there for thousands of years. It has survived because of its certain intrinsic quality, right? I'm not as powerful or as big as that, so I need to acknowledge that. Tomorrow, okay, I am making contemporary things, but I acknowledge and I respect that value. That is why I'm creating contemporary things, but I can keep the essence intact, because that is very important for the community. Today, if you look at my saris, although it is a universal, it has a universal appeal, but today you can still make out that it is being hand woven in a certain village coming from Bengal. It doesn't look like it's coming from Kashmir, it doesn't look like it's coming from the south, or it doesn't look like it's coming from the west. It looks it's coming from East Bengal. So why is it so? Because I've understood it. I had to train myself. It's not that I was trained like that. I had it in me or something like that. No. When I first went, I'll tell you about my first experience. My first paper drawing I took to a certain cooperative society where I wanted to get my first samples done. They looked at my papers and they just threw it out of the window and said, "These are impossible. I mean, you just get out from here. We don't want to work." So I was standing there trying to understand, where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? And then it took me at least 2 to 3 years to understand the psyche, that where is it coming from? Why they don't want to change? They don't want to change is the moment they're working on my new designs means they have to give up their old work for a particular Mahajan. Now today they don't even know that tomorrow I'm going to come back or not.
Correct.
So if they change for you and then tomorrow you don't come back, then they've lost the Mahajan's work and they've lost my work. So then they've gone back to their point zero. So then we bought a plot of land and built a house and started staying there, trying to show them, we are also part of you. Then they opened up. So everybody has to. You can't tomorrow. See, that is why we're different from fast fashion.
Yes.
You asked me what is the difference. That is how textile is different, because you need that time to work with the craftsmen, for them to understand you, for you to understand them, and then it's a complete amalgamation. Otherwise it doesn't. So I think what needs to be taught at the design school is the attitude as to how you, and to also to treat them as equal, and probably more, because they know more than you. You don't know how to create that piece. You don't know how to only draw on a paper, which is not enough. So that respect, that attitude, I think needs to be ingrained at the school level.
Right. Yeah. The humility and the respect for your craftsmen and artisans, right? Yeah. Absolutely.
Like tomorrow, if the design student went to say famous designers place to work, he's not going to work, or his or her tone of voice is not going to be the same when he goes and works with the craftsman. Why
Yes.
is it so? So they are equally experienced as a top fashion house.
Correct. Very true. So tell me, from the time you say you ran away from home, you found your independence on a 15th of August many years ago, and now, 15th of August recently. Do you tell me, are you happy with what you have achieved? You would have had dreams when you, decided to do that rebelling. Sitting back today, are you happy at what you've achieved? Are your parents, who probably were not happy about you and they said you must come back to the tea estate, are they happy when they see the way you have grown?
Yeah, I think they are. I think now sometimes my dad said it's good that you left the tea garden and did something of your own. Yeah, and I'm happy in a way. I think, like, say for instance, my happiness, I think different people look at success in different ways, and my success, as I said earlier, that I thought I came to a full circle when my weaver told me about that they don't need that support anymore. They can stand on their own feet, because that is what I had started out to do. I mean, that is why in year 2002, when we started Byloom, that was both me and Rumi, we felt that this is something we owe to the society. We, as a designers, if we can make that impact on livelihood of people, that would be my biggest success. And that I see now happening, slowly turning around, and I feel happy about it. And I feel that is my success. Where during COVID time, when the COVID started, and in India, you must have heard there has been a lot of people coming back from the cities to the villages back, because they couldn't stay over there. And there was a huge crisis of food and all of that, because there was a huge crisis everywhere. So one day I used to call them up weekly and talk to them. One of my weavers who have been working for almost 20 years now, man, young guy and much younger to me. And he told me that I have to tell you I've done something. So first I thought, oh my God, what? So he said, no, there was I have fed around 300 people on my own. I said, wow, why didn't you ask me? I could have helped. He said, no, if I need your help, I'll let you know. But this I really wanted to do. And he spent almost 1 lakh of rupees on just feeding 300 people. And I felt so proud that today, he doesn't need my monetary backup anymore. He is proud and he is successful enough to, when he felt that he needed to contribute to the society and feed the people around him, he went ahead and did it on his own. And he didn't feel the pinch that he was taking out money from his account. He could do it. So, these are my successes, I would say. And I feel good that, okay, I've achieved what I had set out to do.
Yeah, it's absolutely very, very inspiring. And what is the legacy, Bappa, you would like to leave behind? This is Bappa and Rumi's legacy for handloom. What would that be?
Well, I think that is, I've never thought about it really, because I think I've just worked whatever has come. We have worked and gone on and on. But I think what I would really like to people, like, I think we have set up some examples. We have set up some way of working. We have set up a role model, and I think that is something which I would like Byloom to be remembered as to setting up a role model of business, profitable. Say, for instance, Rumi's entire deconstructing of the Mahajan system. I mean, it's a very, very old, prevalent system which was actually extorting money out from the actual grassroots weaver. And she really deconstructed it and made a business model where today they are all standing on their own feet. When this guy who fed this 200 people, when we started working with him, he had nothing absolutely. He was begging literally for work from one place to the other, not getting work, and we started working with him, and he started with just, I think, 5 looms. So today his business has gone into crores. So these are how I think I would like to remember that the deconstruction that we did, and today not only in terms of way of business, but deconstructing the whole design sensibility of handlooms. And like you said, that how have we made it like, one of my customers once asked me in an exhibition in Delhi, how do you make this NGO type looking sari so sexy? And I thought that was the biggest compliment that I've ever got in my life, and I am on right tracks.
Yeah.
So these are the deconstructions that we have done, and this, I think, would be, even when we don't work, or I mean, we are not here, this should carry on. And I think the biggest legacy and a compliment that I would get, if the skill levels and the tradition of weaves continues, and I mean, gets passed on from generation to generation. So that would be my biggest compliment.
Thank you so much. I mean, you've been so patient, and despite having this technological
I
challenge,
think you have been very
very
patient
patient.
listening to me to such long conversations,
No, I
huge answers to your questions.
no, no, I
But
just
I've spoken to you from my heart, and whatever I felt, whatever I feel, actually is something what I've told you.
thank you so much. And when you speak from your heart, it really touches. So therefore, I am, like I said, one of the few blessings, if you like, in COVID is I've got the time of people like you to share your wisdom. And I'm so sure that the minute I say I'm going to have Bappa on my show, that people are just going to go crazy, because you are a person who I know lots of women who totally admire your work. So I'm very, very
Thank
excited
you.
about featuring you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
This has been
You're
so
welcome.
thank you.
No, your questions has been really lovely, and it has brought out a lot of things. I think if you ask me to just talk on me, I won't be able to cover so much. But your questions kind of brought out everything from the core.
Hope you enjoyed our Bengal voyage with Bappaditya Biswas. Do leave your comments, suggestions, and feedback on this episode right below the video. Do stay tuned for updates on our future episodes on our Facebook and Instagram page. Thank you very much.